There are so many games to cover, and because there are so many games to cover, there will be a bad apple in there somewhere. So today we are going to answer the question, how bad is Need for Speed Undercover really? Hi everyone, as always Patrick here. If you're already subscribed, make sure you turn on notifications, otherwise YouTube won't tell you if I posted anything. If you are new to the channel, make sure you watch until the very end and consider subscribing if you like it. Oh boy, Need for Speed Undercover. This game is considered to be one of the worst games in the Need for Speed franchise. But I know I've asked this question before, but I will ask this again. How bad is it really? Let's find out. Before we can start analyzing the game though, I need to talk about few things. Originally I was looking for some mods and I found a lot of them because the Need for Speed community is pretty big. I found many mods that improve the graphics, and I also found mods that improve the handling, the physics, and well, pretty much everything about this game since the game was badly received. And originally I thought to myself, maybe I don't want to go through all of this pain, maybe I'll just use mods, so I will be able to I will be able to record the footage for this game without being disgusted by everything. But then I think to myself, you know what? That's not the original experience. I want to really answer the question, how bad is this game really? So maybe mods aren't going to help me this time. And because of that, I decided to play the vanilla version of the game, no mods at all, so I can get the original experience before modders started to fix everything. So basically all I'm saying is I am playing the vanilla version of the game. That's all you need to know. With that out of the way, let's talk about the graphics. For a game released in 2008, the graphics are bad. Very, very bad. To prove my point, let's compare this game to other games that also came out in 2008. Trackmania United Forever, iRacing, Score International Baja 1000, Superstar Racing. No, not the one made by Milestone. That's a completely different game. Nikita Speedy Pirates. Oh boy. And of course, the big one, Race Driver Grid. Except for Nikita Speedy Pirates, which doesn't look good, every single game I've mentioned looks way better than Undercover. Did I mention that Need for Speed Undercover has this, bloom, annoying motion blur, tons of color correction, and, well, this annoying brown and gray and realistic filter? The same filter that every single game in late 2000s used? Yeah. All of those things combined make the game look incredibly underwhelming and bad. The game looked really bad back in 2008 and it looks even worse now. I don't think I have anything positive to say about the graphics. Maybe there is something positive I can say about the options. Well, the options are a bit better, but they're not very good. Yeah, I guess we can talk about the options now. The game does support widescreen resolutions up to 1080p. If you want to play in higher resolutions like 4K, you have to use the NFS Undercover generic fix. But still, the widescreen support is there. It has minor issues. Like I've said, you can't get the game, you can't run it higher than 1080p, but there are fixes for this, so it's not that big of a deal. There is VSync, there is anti-aliasing. The game runs at high FPS, so your gameplay is going to be smooth at the very least. There's also anisotropic filtering, but it is somewhat limited in terms of support. Only an anisotropic mode is available, so if you want to have a better anisotropic filtering support, you can force it in the graphics card control panel. And there are also some other graphical effects like the world detail, shadows, world effects, car detail, car effects, car damage and smoke. That's all nice to see. But still there are problems. Well, like I've said, I've already mentioned the problems with the widescreen support, even though it is decent. There are other problems. I've already talked about the anisotropic filtering and its limited support, so time for the one big important issue. There's no FOV slider. Thankfully, the Need for Speed community is pretty big and there is a workaround for the FOV. You have to download the FOV fix by NFS Business, unzip update 2-4-18, download and run nfs-vlted. I don't know how to pronounce that normally, sorry. You have to import unzipped update 2-4-18, then save your changes, and you're good to go. You can also use this method for the alternative camera mods, like for example for the close camera and the far camera. What about the game's stability? It didn't lag, it didn't stutter, but it did crash one time. And that one crash that I had was really unfortunate. I'm not gonna get into details because I don't really feel like it. But even though the game crashed, I didn't really care because... why? Well, you'll find out later. So yeah, the PC release is mostly good. It has some issues, a lot of issues, but those can be fixed. Like I've said before, there are graphical mods that can change the way the game looks. You can make the game look a lot better than this. So I definitely recommend checking out those mods for this game. I didn't use it here because I wanted to tell you my perspective from the original experience. So yeah, graphics bad. Let's talk about the story. Story bad. Let me give you the too long didn't read version of the story. The story is very weak with a number of cliches and cheesy, underwhelming and untalented acting, even from Maggie Q. But to give some credit to Maggie Q, no one gives a good performance in this game, because everyone sounds the same. Maggie Q tries to switch things up a bit with her acting. And there are small differences between her and other characters. Those differences aren't very noticeable, but they are there. And of course, who can forget about the incredibly cheesy, very dangerous line from L.T. Keller? As for the story itself, you're going undercover to take down multiple racing syndicates. That's it. I have absolutely nothing more to say about the story. Although there is one more thing I should mention. The game decided to use live action cutscenes instead of making the cutscenes, in-game cutscenes. I don't know why. Live action cutscenes aren't very good. Did I mention that the story is very weak with a number of cliches and cheesy, underwhelming, and untalented acting? Yeah, I know I've said it before, but you really need to let that sink in. Also, there are no mods to disable the story. I know, this sounds ridiculous, but the story really isn't good. I don't think this game really needs a story. Kind of. Whatever. Because of all of those issues, I didn't care about the story, and if we're being honest, I don't think Black Box cared about the story either. So yeah, story bad. Let's talk about the gameplay. Gameplay bad. It's also very boring. There is one thing I need to mention though. I am going to be very negative during the rest of the video pretty much, so just to break it up, let's talk about the good stuff first. The game returns to the illegal street racing formula that Pro Street lacked. Pro Street came out 1 year before this game and it had the legal street racing. It's not bad, but it kinda doesn't really fit in the Need for Speed franchise. Well, depending on your view anyway. At least the game is open world, unlike the Run, and even better, all boroughs are always accessible at the very beginning. It expands the customization compared to the previous Need for Speed games, featuring the improved autosculpt. The sound design and the damage models are pretty good despite a portion of them being recycled from Pro Street, such as the nitrous firing sound. Despite being very stupid in-game, the cop's portrayal does become much better. Free-roam cop radio channels are much more organic, ranging from casual chit-chats, random neighborhood cases, bank robberies, to even a Ryan Cooper, Pro Street's protagonist's Easter egg. The busted cutscenes are much more designed and lively, whatever, despite showing some unnecessary police brutality. Very good licensed soundtracks such as 9 Inch Nails' The Mark Has Been Made and Pendulum's The Tempest, combined with great original soundtrack by Paul Hasslinger, such as the Pursuit music, which was also reused in World. Before I move on with the other good stuff, I have to say this first. Even though I've just said those songs are good, I really mean those songs, because the rest of the soundtrack is forgettable. But not garbage like Heat and Unbound, so that's a plus. There are pink slips in which you'll be able to obtain a car of your choice at no charge. Unfortunately, the pink slips are just stock versions of the opponent's cars, and the fourth pink slip offer gives you only Tier 2, high-level, stock cars, instead of the Tier 1 cars you stole from G-Mac. There is a mod that fixes this, but like I've said, I'm going for the original experience here, so yeah. And that's pretty much all the good stuff I can say about this game. Everything else about this game is bad, and I mean, sometimes it's just bad, but at other times it's really, really bad. Well, someone's getting angry now. Time to talk about the bad stuff. First, let's talk about the unusual difficulty spike. You start the game with ridiculously easy gameplay, then it ends with a nonsensical difficulty where everyone outruns you even if you use your NOS or NOS to get a boost. The AI gets faster and faster until their cars crash. It also gets worse in the patched versions when they are buffed to oblivion. Speaking of AI, they are extremely stupid when they are not racing. First, the cops are notably weaker than in previous games such as Most Wanted 2005. Also, their spawn rate is low, 1 upon 60 or even more seconds, that you will actually fail pursuits events for this, making the chases repetitive, boring and frustrating. Then there are also slow and confused as racer slash fog AI in job missions that combined with boring cops makes these missions very easy. Now I'm just going to jump from one bad thing to another, so please keep that in mind. Let's go back to the graphics real quick. We know that the graphics are terrible even by 2008 standards with its horrid lighting effects, thanks to the overused bloom and real is brown effect, or as I like to call it, brown and gray realistic, which is also present on Most Wanted 2005, broken LOD, and the game world being coated in yellow like when it was set after a teaser bomb explodes far away from Tri-City Bay. This can be fixed through modding though, but I didn't bother with that because I'm going for the original experience like I've said many times before, but you should definitely use those mods. They will make the experience a lot better, trust me. It's time for another bad thing. Due to improper physics implementation, driving on an incline doesn't feel any different from driving on a flat surface. If you use the brakes, the car stops very quickly, the handling is very floaty, and there's no proper weight implementation for any car, meaning you can take down a Rhino SUV very easily with a Lotus Elise 111R. Yet another bad quality of the game. The heat level system is broken. The police response and tactics depend not on your heat level but your wheelman, i.e. reputation level. Unlike in Most Wanted and Carbon, where the police sends faster cars and uses more dangerous tactics to stop you if you have a higher level heat level. This means you can have civic cruisers chasing you after you even reach condition 5, or have federal Porsches chasing you with roadblocks and spike strip as low as condition 1. The heat level is also locked to certain pursuit levels. Another bad quality. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna stop with saying those. Unlike this game's predecessors, game moment cutscenes can't be turned off, or at least not without mods. It's unavoidable when the AI driver dri- drives you into spikes upon activation. Sorry for that small stutter there. At least popped tires can be fixed with a glitch by turning off car damage in the pause menu and then turning it back on. That's cool. You know what, I'm just gonna keep saying those. The patched PC port, which I was playing, suffers from random frame drops even on a powerful machine. You can partly fix it using the task manager in the information tab by telling it to not use CPU 0 though. Okay, another bad quality. Underwhelming landscape. Tri-City Bay, which is based on Miami, Florida, is just a small city. Palm Harbor, Sunset Hills, Gold Coast Mountains, and Port Crescent. Not a big city compared to Palmont from Carbon, which was a very large-scale city. Speaking of Palm Harbor, this borough is just an empty shell of an island but in city form. The so-called bigger map is actually stacked up by tons of tedious highways. Why is it like this? I have no idea. Let's talk about the cars. I'll give you the too long didn't read versions. Some cars are quite overpowered, such as the Nissan 3700Z or Z34, which was over-advertised in some of the trailers, as that can compete with Tier 1 cars including the Bugatti Veyron 16.4 and McLaren F1. Maybe in a similar manner to PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, this certain car was buffed to oblivion because of one thing: in-game advertising. Also, speaking of cars, most all-wheel drive cars accelerate poorly even when fully upgraded, especially the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution iX MR Edition, Audi S5 or B8, and even the Lamborghini Gallardo LP560-4. The Gallardo, because of its upgraded drivetrain and tires being worse than the stock versions, as the car uses wrong differential values for both stock and upgraded versions. Those are all bad gameplay qualities you need to know about, but I do want to talk about one more thing. Some cars can only be driven if the player has the collector's edition of the game, which is unpurchasable for PC players due to changes on Need for Speed's official website long ago. By default, these cars are only drivable in quick race mode. Those cars can be obtained on that game platform by falsifying or removing those cars. The IS Collector Edition field via NFS VLT. Sorry, I still don't know how to pronounce this. Also, these cars have hidden prices and unlock conditions which are removed when the collector's edition is brought. Technically speaking, I could end this video right here, but we need to have a quick rundown of all the things this game has, so let's do it really quickly. Gameplay things only. The driving is bad and not satisfying. The same thing goes for the vehicle handling, and most of the cars are either overpowered or just not satisfying to use. The map is boring, uninspiring, and there's nothing you can do. There are way too many missions. This wouldn't be a problem if there was something else I could do, you know? The game is either way too easy or way too hard. Broken heat system, bad story and bad graphics. Oh wait, I was supposed to talk about gameplay only in this part. I guess I just can't. I guess I just don't have anything more to say about it, so I just had to throw those in there. What a mess. Okay, now we can finally answer the question. How bad is Need for Speed Undercover really? Well, it's pretty bad. I know you really don't like when I repeat myself, but I have to repeat myself one last time. The graphics are bad, dull and uninspiring, even by 2008 standards. The story is bad, and for the most part you can just ignore it like I did. I honestly don't care about the story. And the gameplay itself is not very good, considering that this is supposed to be a Need for Speed game released in late 2000s. If I'm being honest, I cannot recommend this game to anyone except for the people that are extremely curious about it. Even then, unless you are really curious, like I've just said, don't waste your time. There are way better games in this series. Underground 1 and 2, Most Wanted, Carbon, and some others that I just don't really remember right now. We also have to ask this question. Is Need for Speed Undercover the worst game in the Need for Speed franchise? No, it's not. I've seen way worse. Actually, I have played way worse in this series. I guess we will have to talk. I guess we will analyze them one day, huh? Patience. That's all I'm going to say. Patience. While Need for Speed Undercover isn't the worst game in the franchise, it's pretty close. So all I'm going to say is, unless you are extremely curious about it, you can try. If you are extremely curious about it, you can try it out. But if not, don't waste your time and play something else. But that pretty much sums up everything I wanted to say in this analysis video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Just